First of all, I would like to ask everybody to silence their phones. That includes you, Mr. McCain. The other thing I'd like to begin with is we have an invocation that will be offered by Pastor Jerry Storrs from the Sutherland Lutheran Church of Casa Grande. Before you say a prayer for us, this was given to me just a few minutes ago by one of our county employees, and it's a copy of the Declaration of Independence. It's a transcript. You know, in light of the volatile atmosphere that we're in today and the information or misinformation that's been given out by different elected officials, I think it's important that we look at this and we study it. We get to know it. We get to understand it, especially in light of what tomorrow represents. I think it's imperative that we as citizens become informed and we don't always listen to what is being said. We investigate it for ourselves. We learn for ourselves the truth about everything. And those of us that are elected officials, we need people trust us. We need to stand up for what's right, and we need to say what's accurate with evidence supporting that. And that's all I have to say about that. As we go forward in today's meeting, I would ask that we be respectful of one another's viewpoints. We're not always going to agree, but we be respectful to that and to one another with the things that we say and the things that we do. We live in a great country, and in my personal opinion, it was instituted by God Almighty. And therefore, I believe those that have the pattern of doing good to others and desire to do that and treat each other with love and respect the way that we would want to be treated, that it's important that we do that. So thank you. If we could have the prayer by Pastor Storrs. Following Pastor Storrs, we're going to ask Supervisor McClure to give our Pledge of Allegiance. And so please stand, those that wish to join.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we praise you and give you thanks for blessing our community, state, and nation to us. Places where we can enjoy such wonderful freedoms that so much of the world does not have. We ask you to be with all of our leaders, and especially today with our county supervisors, Jeff, Kevin, Mike, Stephen, and Jeffrey, during our time together, that decisions reached would please you. Be with them always. Give them wisdom as they strive to lead us in ways to have our Pinal County continue to be a place of safety, growth, and peace. We know you will answer our prayer in your ways and in your will, because we ask them all in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, and welcome to our Pinal County Board of Supervisors meeting dated July 3rd, 2024. Just by way of announcement, if you notice, my seatmate to the left of me is not here today. He's going to be joining us telephonically. Supervisor Miller, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think he's up in the cool weather. Get a little heated down here, I guess.
On the down low.
Down. The first item on the agenda is call to the public. Consideration, discussions, and comments from the public. Those wishing to address the Pinal County Board of Supervisors need not to fill out a form or request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing our staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Again, I just want to reiterate, as you come forward and you have the things that you wish to say, please be respectful on both sides. Okay, so the first one I have is Mr. Chuck, just the first name, Chuck. And if you could give us a kind of a general area where you live before you speak, that'd be great. Thank you. Is it Chalk or Chuck? All I have is Chuck on here, the first name, that's it.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And yeah, if you could just give your full name, that'd be great.
Okay, last name is Tiger.
Come up to the stand there and
Thank you. This is a sensitive thing I'm going to say, but every one of you will get a letter that's being mailed to you with more details of what I'm about to say. In a meeting with a federal agency, they are suspecting corruption at your level, the Faulkner's level, and some of the individuals in Pinal County Sheriff. One federal agent asked me if I knew if somebody in the high command was child trafficking at PCSO. It ranges from low-hanging fruit to bribery, all the way up to keeping quiet on murders. So, like I said, some more details are being mailed to you. You can, at that point, give whatever or to whoever. The other question is, does this body have the power to get an outside investigator to investigate this stuff? Not the attorney's office, but this body, the governing body. So I would like you to at least look into that to see if you can have an outside investigator, outside agency, or something that's not within Pinal County look into this matter. I appreciate your time.
did you state your full name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last name is Tiger.
Okay. Thanks, Chuck.
All right.
Okay. Next, Barry McCain.
Good morning, Chairman Goodman, Board of Supervisors, staff, and friends. My name is Barry McCain. I'm a write-in candidate for County Supervisor, District 1. Been here since 2012. I think that's normal. I would like to thank for you explicitly to try to show us how to be congenial with each other or fair with each other. That's what law's about. Everything goes back to being fair. I'm glad to be here. Yesterday, I could have been arrested for smiling in front of a church trying to find education money. So it was on Channel 10. I still don't understand that yet, but I appreciate you. In the military, all 20 years, I was in the education office because I'd learned these modules. I thought it was great because they had everything. And one of the things being that I am a write-in candidate for County Supervisor District 1. You have to show leadership. And the way you do that is by reading up. You know, it's like my mom always said, you know, God gave us 2 ears and a mouth. And when we forget 2 is better than 1, we end up with our foot in our mouth. Well, one of the things that I learned whether it be in Top Gun or whether it be working with Blue Angels or whoever, safety comes first. And that's important at this time. We've got 4th of July coming up. That's very important. But we had this RAT management tool we had. RAT stands for results, action, and thinking. And we always would look at every problem backwards. The result is what we want to do, so that's why it's the R. And we have to take action, or status quo is not happy anyway. So to change that, we have to have action. And the last thing has to do with 4th of July is thinking. I want everybody to think about this heat that we're here. But we'll find out. Due process will take care of things right now. And I think it's important that we have to see that there's more good people in this world than there are bad. I know. I deal with politicians. They're not leaders, a lot of them, but that's okay. True leaders are not, as you were talking, true leaders are not selfish people. And I want that to be understood. Tomorrow is important, but let's don't be selfish, and let's think before we do things, because it affects everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCain. Virginia Moody, or Moody? Moody.
Good morning. My name is Virginia Rowland Moody, and I'm here to address a topic that's actually not on the agenda. It's the proposed 5G cell tower on Bash's property at the junction of Superstition Mountain Road and US 60. And I know your agenda today is horribly onerous, so I'll try and keep this brief. I've lived in that area long before there was a Gold Canyon. I didn't even want Gold Canyon. I lived on Kings Ranch starting in the 1970s, and it was wonderful there. But seeing the changes that have come, I know that change is inevitable, and change can even be good. And being a practicing physician, the importance of good cell communication and cell phone communications is very important to me, especially emergency calls. It would be nice to be able to get an emergency call in every room in my house, and not only when the moon is full. So I really appreciate the importance of cell phone communication. The other issue that I want to bring up is that I totally agree with the chairman, Supervisor Goodman, about this free country. My parents sought refuge in this country from a nation that was communist. So I think I appreciate more than the average the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. And I am all for free enterprise. I believe that we should be able to do with our property what we want to, but it has to be balanced with the public good and welfare. And fortunately, this board is much more involved with this very delicate balance, much more than I am. As a practicing physician, I can tell you that the government, unfortunately, sometimes lags behind science in issues that affect the public health. And there are a number of these. Two of the best known are asbestos exposure and cigarette smoke. So that being said, we're not supposed to address health issues, so I won't. But I will address the issue of aesthetics. The proposed disguise for this cell phone tower is a 70-foot plastic mono elm. There are indigenous elms in the desert, but not 75-foot mono elms in our location. And I would just like the board to consider these aesthetic approaches. And we do have some proposals that we will be presenting in the future with alternatives to the telecommunications tower, alternative locations, or even an alternate mode of disguising this. So thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. The next one is I have Glenn Walt. Mr. Walt.
Honorable Chair, honorable board members, staff, good morning. My name is Glenn Walt. I reside at 4798 South Las Mañanitas Trail in Gold Canyon. I'm the president of the Adobe organization in Gold Canyon, which was started back in 1989, which focus was to work with the county as it dealt with issues related to Gold Canyon. And there has been a very good relationship through the years, and we thank all the board members throughout the years that effectuated that process. Adobe was in and of itself was contacted by numerous and various people within Gold Canyon regarding this tower that is to come up, speaking in line with what the good doctor spoke about. And we have formed a subcommittee. And within that subcommittee, we also pulled the actual petition that was presented. There was a survey taken with 457 people responding to that survey. Of that amount, nearly 36% did not want the tower. Now, it's anonymous as to who these people were, probably the HOA area where the houses will be affected. But we feel that's a good number of people that were opposed to the tower. A meeting was held, I believe it was October last year. I saw a letter that was sent to some residents. I never received it, but there are some people who are down from me who did receive it. But there was a real poor lack of communications regarding the people that will be affected. It's just not the people that are within the zone of this tower that the county evaluated. And we feel that these people were left out of the process. 16 people attended that meeting. And those 16 people decided, and some of them people were with the same family, decided that was it. My time is running out, but we have options that we're going to bring. We're not just going to bring a problem. We're going to give you answers the way we feel it can be done. Communications will be effectuated and needed. It is needed. Even my own home has problems with that. But there are other ways of doing it. And just one quick one. There is currently I believe that's a 3-cell tower, huge tower, in Gold Canyon at the at the Lutheran Church. Now, you don't know it's a tower because it looks like a bell tower for the church. It's totally, you can't even see it. And in addition to locations, in addition to different ways of presenting it, when it does come before the board, we respectfully ask that if you would just listen to what we're saying, evaluate it, and hopefully make a good decision for what we feel are the vast majority of the people in Gold Canyon that mainly deals with aesthetics. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Walt. Gail Peters.
Good morning. My name is Gail Peters, and I am from Santan Valley in Arizona, where I love living in Arizona, and especially in Pinal County. I think we're blessed. One of the important things we learn early in life is how to distinguish truth from a lie. Would you agree? Anyone can make an accusation. That doesn't make it true. And we all know that you shouldn't believe everything we hear or read, especially these days. It's important to consider the source. Many in Pinal County received a message from an organization called Arizona Campaign for Liberty. Who is this organization? I Googled it online, and there's no reason to think that this small Phoenix-based organization has any special information about Pinal County. I wish Maricopa would concentrate on their own problems. No clear reason or motive for them to spend the time and the money texting our citizens here. The text instructed us to call our county attorney's office and tell him we're tired. Well, I am tired. I'm tired of people misrepresenting the truth and making bizarre and deliberately misleading accusations for political reasons. No one who works with Kent Volkmer and knows the responsibilities of the office of the county attorney would agree with the characterizations in this text message. For example, is the county attorney responsible for printing ballots or managing elections? In case you're wondering, no, they're not. Can the county attorney bring charges against someone if the investigation shows and determines that the facts and the findings don't show guilt? It's a darn good thing in a just judicial system. No, you can't. When evaluating any charge, it's important to ask whether the person making the accusation has anything to gain from them. For example, are they running for office? Are these simply unsubstantiated claims and allegations without context intended to harm a political rival? Kent Volkmer is respected by the men and women he works and associates with. He's very involved in community activities. Kent Volkmer has done many things to improve the handling of cases in Pinal County, and this has saved us a great deal of money. He's a valued member and endorsed by numerous legal and law enforcement organizations. It would take more than my allotted 3 minutes to read them all. We are fortunate to have Kent Volkmer representing our county. It is reprehensible that anyone would make these slanderous insinuations against this man who has served our county so capably. And I would point out, crime is down 27% due to the teamwork of our law enforcement and our county attorney. So who stands to gain from this attack message? Just 1 second. If you consider carefully, the text of this message says more about the individual who created and paid to have it sent out than it does about the target of these unproven allegations. I wouldn't hire this person for my attorney, and I certainly wouldn't vote for him either. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Mr. Trout.
I've given a copy to you. Good morning. My name is Arlen Trout from Gold Canyon. I'm sorry I missed your last meeting. I heard it had been canceled in honor of the Juneteenth celebration. I request your urgent attention to my community and the ongoing trespass and harassment by local land developers. This involves Kenneth Dean Russell and the concerning response from Sheriff Mark Lamb. Despite my numerous requests for assistance from Pinal County officials, I have not received effective action from Sheriff Lamb or this Board of Supervisors. My family has successfully sued Russell with 4 Superior Court judges unequivocally ruling in our favor. Russell owes substantial money and has been ordered to stay off my property, remove his illegally built house, and repair the damage caused by his trespass. Despite these rulings, Russell's gang has never been criminally charged and continues to harass my family and neighbors who have testified against him. Sheriff Lamb's recent email, filed with condescending remarks and veiled threats, perpetuates the harassment he has endured for over 3 years. Russell has falsely accused us of lying, trespassing, harassment, property damage, and being evil neighbors. He claims he has great influence with his church and public officials. His baseless accusations have been disproven in court. Sheriff Lamb's implications that I am weaponizing the law for public sympathy is unjust and offensive. We have been targeted and harassed unjustly, and the court has ruled in our favor. Russell and his associates' continued trespass and threats are dangerous and ongoing. For example, September 10th, 23 and June 29th, 24, Russell's associates created violent situations, then endangered my family. Yet PCSO's responses have been conspicuously biased, inadequate, and risky. Sheriff Lamb's veiled threats and refusal to enforce protective laws and court orders against Russell is placing my family in danger. Effective enforcement would have prevented this litigation and damages. I have taken these issues up with the county and county officials, and my claims are supported by documented evidence and court decisions. The sheriff's bias, threats, and dismissal of our concerns will not resolve this matter. I urge the board to recognize and address these facts and continuous waste of public resources, violations of court orders, and the sustained threats and harassment by Russell and his associates suggest bias and abuse by Sheriff Lamb. Immediate intervention by the board is necessary, and I've been threatened by Sheriff Lamb's deputy just before I spoke, too, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, we've got some, this has been turned over to Maricopa County, correct?
Correct. Mr. Chairman, you had asked at the previous meeting to put this on a future agenda, and we are working with Maricopa County's attorney that's assigned to brief you in an executive session, but they are not available until I think he's back in town in 2 weeks, so our first meeting hopefully in August.
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, the next one I have is Kathy Trout.
Afternoon. Hi, I'm Kathy Trout. I have lived out in Gold Canyon for 40 years. My grandmother was born here in Arizona in 1919. And sorry, I'm a little upset. And in the last 13 years, we've had to defend ourselves twice in court over the same bullying contractors trying to take over our land and push us off of it. After successfully winning twice in court, just recently against Mr. Russell, we are still being attacked. Our grandchildren are afraid to sleep in our front bedroom because they fear the man next door and refuse to go outside without an adult being with them because of the things they've seen and had to endure. Mr. Russell, and it's just not us, one of our neighbors was also attacked, and 4 other neighbors have also complained. So this saying that this is just the Trout family is not so. There are 5 other people on that hill. He says that that he's allowed to do this because he's friends with the Pinal County official and the Pinal County Sheriff's Office who want us out. This week, Mr. Russell's friend parked onto our drive, blocked our driveway. The man was threatening to me, and when he got out of his car, he also told me I was not allowed to leave my house because I have to drive by his house, down the hill, and 4 properties on a public road. Later, when I left that day, he jumped out at me, making faces and stuff, and then later told me that I could no longer go to my trash can. He's been threatening, and this is not the first time that he had been up there. He is friends and a worker with Mr. Russell. We're talking about budgeting today, but yet Pinal County keeps spending thousands of dollars defending officials either not doing their job, refusing to do their job, or allowing people to not obey our ordinances and laws in favor of a friend or a contractor. On a video I saw, I was told as an old resident with a picture of my home by Mr. Surdy in the Rose Law Company to get over ourselves with the house next door. Those people in that new house were sued by us. The contractor and the developers all lost their business and that property because they built on our property on a 0 lot line, which means they have no yard. Their septic tank still goes off to this day, and the list goes on. Nobody won in that except attorneys. So we have the right, after all this time, be here to live peacefully and not be shoved off our land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Trout. Next one is Anthony Myers.
My name is Anthony Myers. Board, this goes to y'all, and this is a follow-up with what the Trouts have to say. I am either the gentleman that they were speaking, Mr. Russell, has essentially just stuck his middle finger up to this board and to the court, or else he's got a green light from powers above to go ahead and continue to do what he is doing. I'm a direct result of being struck by a hammer by Mr. Russell. Yes, I was. I did not retaliate. I was not raised that way for the simple fact of a 70-year-old man, and I'm in my 50s. I could not return. And so I stepped away from the issue. Sheriff's Department was called. It was listed. I'm concerned about my safety. So if he's flipping his finger or has the green to do what he wishes to do, I'm concerned about my safety, my wife's safety, my dog's safety. And in Mr. Russell's words, he thought I was Arlen Trout. So that naturally makes me concerned Arlen Trout's safety. That's pretty much all I got to say about the entire thing. But yeah, I live in that neighborhood too. That's my access to my house, which is he's been on my property too. This is my first time trying to do something like that, so you guys got to forgive me for being a little bit unsure of how to speak. Anyways, gentlemen, y'all have a good day. Have a good 4th.
Thank you. John Orton.
Thank you, Board, for allowing me to speak. I'm John Orton. I live in the unincorporated area outside of Eloy. I'm here to talk about election integrity. I've heard this board on numerous occasions admit that the public has no faith and trust in our elections, and we want to improve it. But all I see is, every tyrannical government has to control the election, the ballot box, or they don't stay in power. It's given us the appearance that we have a tyrannical government here. We haven't passed our election audits in 22, even our PPE audit. It was full of holes. I mean, what? And nobody's concerned about it. I mean, the local newspaper reports on it. Sheriff Lamb and Ken Volkmer, I hear them talking all the time about how there's no problems. I mean, this is election maladministration. This is people inside of our county that is causing these problems. And you guys, according to the statutes, that our BOS is supposed to be in charge of our elections. But we have one BOS member that makes a very sensible motion here a few months ago just to do an exit interview on somebody that Dana would fire. And the other 4 wouldn't even second it. I mean, that makes you all look complicit in what's going on in our elections. I mean, you got to understand how we look at that. When we see 4 of you that don't even want to exit an interview on somebody, especially after you guys knew, at the time, the public didn't know there was a whistleblower inside of the elections department. But you guys knew it, and you still didn't want to even talk to this person. I mean, look at it from our side. How do you think that makes our opinion of you guys? I mean, that doesn't look good. It makes you look like you're complicit in this. I mean, Jesus told us, judge them not by what they say, but by what they do. I mean, we have to judge you on your lack of actions. How come Sheriff Lamb and Ken Volkmer are not looking into the fact that we can't pass our audits? I mean, this is in the local newspapers. Isn't anybody in this county concerned about our elections? Our manual. I've turned in a public records request to see the manual. I'm the one that came to this BOS meeting and said, I talked to Frisk before you fired him. He never had a manual. So now we have a manual, but nobody can see it. Obviously, the procedures in the manual don't do any good because we still, in the PPE election, you still couldn't pass the audit. You need to redo your manual.
Thank you, Mr. Orton. George Ellison.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, George Ellison, Gold Canyon. Primary season is upon us. I'd just like to say at the opening, I support the renomination of all of our supervisors, and especially my supervisor, Jeff Surtee, who's done an outstanding job, and I also support the renomination of the County Attorney Kent Volkmer. As far as the Republican primary for Senate goes, I have some unsolicited advice for both Carrie Lake and Sheriff Lamb. Sheriff Lamb, if you win, you might want to have some bigger signs. I realize the signs on 79 are big, but in Gold Canyon, they're the size of a postage stamp. You need a telescope to see them. As for Carrie Lake, I think it's a little deeper. What she said during the race for governor about moderate or liberal Republicans, and I'll lump John McCain in there too, because she also mentioned him, it's not only wrong, but it's self-defeating. Politics is the game of addition, not subtraction. You don't turn off a whole segment of your base merely because you believe differently than them. Now, I don't know if she's getting bad advice or if she's not listening to the advice, but especially when it comes to John McCain, and I disagree with many things John McCain did as a politician, but I have no doubt he was a hero. He was an American hero. He was a fighter pilot in the Vietnam War. He was shot down by the North Vietnamese. He was tortured. He was in the Hanoi Hilton for years. The man is an American hero. And Cindy McCain and Meghan McCain obviously are very upset with her, and I understand why. And if Ms. Lake wins the nomination, she should apologize to the McCains and to the moderate Republicans in the party. As far as the party goes, the Pinal County Republican Party, its webpage is bizarre. It has it has pictures of the Democrat governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, beautiful glossy photos, and their numbers and all that. If you want to advertise for the Democrat Party as a Republican Party, just skip the photos. How do they normally show us in their TV things? Either with a blank face, with a grayed out face, or with jail bars in front of us. You don't have to advertise for the other party. I had some others. Oh, yes. The party page has nothing on the accomplishments of President Trump. He was a great president. Nothing on the accomplishments of him. It has nothing on the failures of Biden, a horrible president. Nothing. I don't understand that. They want precinct captains. I get that. I was a precinct captain Republican in Chicago 40 years ago. Try doing it there. Here's the problem. You have to believe in something if you want Republican precinct captains to go out there and talk about the Republican Party. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last card I have. Is there anybody else that would like to speak before the board? Yes, sir. I'll get to you, ma'am, in a second, okay?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ralph Atchu. I live in Eloy, Arizona. And there are several issues that I find especially troubling in Arizona. First, the Pinal County Superintendent of Education, Jill Broussard, and Casa Grande Union High School board member Boots Hawks have both publicly endorsed ESA expansion, even as funding ESAs has stolen money from the very public schools they represent, as well as driving the state budget into the red, resulting in the need to slow down road repairs and clawing back funds from life-saving opioid treatment and prevention. Secondly, HCR 2060, the Border Immigration Enforcement Measure, appears to be headed to the November ballot. I want to caution voters and remind them of all the negative consequences that came from SB 1070. Additionally, there's still no clear determination of the cost of implementation for HCR 2060. There will be a need to hire additional officers, train them, purchase additional equipment such as vehicles, planes, and maybe even helicopters, provide additional prison capacity, and then fight in court for the lawsuits that are certain to follow. Early statewide estimates put the initial cost at over $600 million. Remember, Arizona is already in the red. I asked Supervisor Miller his take on the county's cost. He wasn't able to give me any specific information, but it will be significant. My question to the board is, will we need to raise taxes or cut services here? Next, the Arizona Republican Party is continuing its big live election fraud pursuit of making access to voting more difficult. They continue to attempt to limit early voting and voting by mail. They are relentless in their fight to kick thousands of voters off the rolls, even as they admit in court that their motivation is not related to election security, but election victory. I'm wondering if it'll ever stop. Finally, the United States Supreme Court brought about our founders' greatest fear, a president with no restraint. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
members of the board. I'm Dia Podolsky, resident of unincorporated Pinal County near Lost Dutchman State Park. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, replete with symbolism, flags, parades, fireworks, and lots of red, white, and blue bunting. I taught high school in a small rural school district. I taught many subjects, but the subjects I've taught most often were English, U.S. history, and government. As an English teacher, I taught metaphor, symbolism, and allegory. I understand the purpose, power, and potential for misuse of all three. I often started the year by having students read Plato's Allegory of the Cave. It is a powerful metaphor. Imagine a cave where people have been imprisoned since childhood. The prisoners face a blank wall and watch shadows projected by its objects passing in front of a fire between them. These shadows represent their reality, but they are not accurate representations of the true world. Recently, Louisiana mandated the posters of the Ten Commandments be displayed in every classroom. The governor contends that these displays do not violate the doctrine of separation of church and state, as they are displays of a part of shared history, not the establishment of a state religion. I think the distinction is unimportant. What is important is whether the students think about the meaning of the commandments critically. Why is it wrong to kill? Why is it wrong to steal? Why is it wrong to covet? Is there only one God? How should the God be worshipped? Having taught in one of the 47 states that mandate the Pledge of Allegiance be recited daily, I am acutely aware that rote recitation does not make one a patriot, any more than wearing a flag pin. The words liberty and justice for all are mere babble if the student is thinking about the party and not the words. Recently, County Attorney Volkmer's podcast, Courtroom Chronicles, you should listen to it, featured a gruesome quadruple homicide. I believe with the greatest confidence that the killer could have sat in a classroom with a 10 Commandment poster on the wall for 12 years and still killed, as his reality was one of shadows. In a world filled with noise that rewards shallow thought over deep reflection, it's easy to confuse shadows and truth. Tomorrow, as you feast on hamburgers, potato salad, watermelon, and apple pie, please take time to think about the promise of the United States. The 4th of July should be a day where we honor the values that unite us, not a time to dwell on divisions. It should ring with bells of freedom, tolerance, and mutual respect. Thank you.
Thank you. The young lady in the back, then I'll come to you, sir.
My name's Mary Buckman. I'm in District 1, living in the Coolidge area. My concern is the upcoming election as well. I know you've worked through a lot of issues, but I would like to have some time to continue to share one of my concerns. I am quoting from a summary that was done on the analysis of the Pinal County 2022 primary and general election. The first part, I quote, "It appears that the county attorney's office now effectively controls all elections in Pinal County, and they fight fiercely using his interpretations of state and county laws to ensure there is no verification of the internal workings of these machines by a hand count. I was here several months ago, and the place was filled with people who were staying with Wendy Rogers and Sonny Borelli. I believe you recall that meeting. There were many people at the microphone saying they wanted hand counts. What happened at the end of that rallying cry was a quote very similar to this one, and also Attorney Volkmer. He was quoted in this analysis on page 500 Again, state legislatures created this legal framework we've created, and they've created significant penalties if you don't do exactly what they say. So they say this is what you need to do, and if you don't do it, you're really going to get in trouble. You're going to potentially have felony on your hands, on your record, and your ability to ever possess your own gun is going to be compromised. Your ability to your freedom for your very liberty is going to be taken from you. And not only that, we're going to take your job from you too. And then really the bottom line is you just don't get administer elections as you see fit. Instead, you're obligated to merely follow the law. That's really where it's at until our legislature collectively changes things. Otherwise, we are going to just do their bidding. According to this statement, Miller, we have a lot of responsibility and no authority. That's probably the best way to describe it. Surdy says, okay. Volkmer says, I wouldn't disagree with that statement. Miller says, it's just an observation. Now, some of this was their opinion. Some of it is actually statements from you all in a meeting. I challenge you to find a way to get to the bottom of the problem by looking at the actual vote tallies in the tabulators.
Thank you. Do we have any others? Sir, come on up. And I think there was one other out there that I saw. Yes. Two others, actually.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name's Howard Stone, and I've lived in Apache Junction for over 36 years. And I've seen where there was something talking about another property increase, dealing with some of the activities and stuff going on, trying to keep the area cleaned up. And my question is, when are the innocent people going to stop paying for the acts of criminal behavior? We have good laws in this county, and the problem is that they're not enforced. We have limited officers from being able to do their job. And I just see that there's almost a double justice system anymore, even within our county. And I've had some issues to where I've had to call law enforcement, and on various occasions dealing with a neighbor, and all I ever get is nothing we can do. It's a civil matter. You know, everything now has gotten to the point that in order for you to get any kind of solution, you have to get a lawyer and you have to sue. And years ago, and I'm a veteran as well, years ago it wasn't that way in this country. Our law enforcement agencies were given the ability and given the respect, and were not limited, to be able to keep us safe. And in my opinion right now, we are not safe, and we are not being able to be kept safe because of it, the neglect on our officers.
Thank you. Was there another young? Oh, yeah, Mr. Rhett.
I'm Noel Rett from Eloy. I wish everyone a happy and meaningful 4th. In light of recent events, I encourage all to reflect on the freedoms we enjoy and the peril they currently face. May that reflection illuminate truth and lies, counter mis and disinformation, and spur action to save our democratic republic. I'll briefly start with the pseudo-history lesson given at the last supervisors meeting regarding the evolution of the Democrat Party and build on that. True, Democrats like Bull Connor, Sheriff Jim Clark, George Wallace, and even FDR were responsible for racial injustice. I fully acknowledge the past mistakes of my party. but equating the pre-1964 Democrat Party with today's party is ludicrous. LBJ's signatures caused the Southern Democrats, the problematic Dixiecrats, to become Republicans, giving us today's ruby red South. Move forward. The racist attitudes and policies of the past are still there, now born under the Republican banner. Tiki torches, blood and soil, Jews will not replace us. Fine people. Per Santayana, truthful critical examination of our history is absolutely essential. So today, rather than dwell in and twist the past, let's briefly examine today's Republican Party, the former GOP, now controlled by MAGA extremists. Their leader, a con artist, habitual liar, racist, adjudicated rapist, traitor, and convicted felon, with more cases on the way, if there's any justice left to be found in the Supreme Court. Lawfare? Trump dreams about that, using the despicable Project 2025 and his Supreme Court puppets, his retribution. Speaking of the six puppets, bump stocks? Sure. Receiving a gratuity after an official act? Sure. Before that? No, that would be bribery. Make it harder to charge insurrectionists? Yeah. Sweeping presidential immunity? Yes. Communication regarding the attempted coup is privilege? Yes. Endanger the environment by overturning the Chevron decision? Yes. And the incompetent Judge Cannon doing all she can to protect Trump as well. No to abortion, no to contraception, 10 commandments in public schools, voter and initiative suppression, Scary Lake speaking in front of a Confederate flag, the 1864 abortion law voted out and 2 gerrymandered Republicans forced to take one for the team. Opioid settlement money used to backfill budget shortfalls due to the flat tax and the runaway voucher program that voters overwhelmingly turned down. But now Republicans turn to us and ask us to vote for HCR 2060, knowing that Governor Hobbs will veto. They don't like us for the vouchers, but they like us for this. So much for opioid treatment. Pinal County Superintendent of Public Instruction, Bruce R., touting vouchers at a candidates forum in her unbelievable recent appointment to the Casa Grande School Board. You heaped praise on her when she showed up. Might you question her actions as well? Eli Crane, obstructive, ineffective, and partnered with Green, Gates, and Boebert. Even the Dispatch won't endorse him. Have his actions ever been questioned? The Republican Party needs to evolve just as Democrats did. This board needs to evolve. Silence becomes complicity. County, state, and country over party, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rett. There you are. Come on up. Yes.
Jack Mattachoni, Apache Junction. I'm just here to talk about a topic, but I want to say first, thank God for the First Amendment. I may not agree with half these people in here, but I also may agree with some of them too. And that's what America's all about. We all get to say our thing and don't take it personal, of course, which I don't, because I get criticized a lot. I get accused of things. My wife's running for board of supervisor against Jeff, his district. And, there's some comments made by both of us that I chuckle at them sometimes because everybody up here is honorable. I may disagree with you. I may say some things, but that's what America's all about. So that's what I'm here, basically, to talk about that briefly. And there's also an issue that I have to, I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm here to say that you guys are doing your jobs. You're doing the best you can. Okay, like anybody else, you're human. And, sometimes you make mistakes. But I do want to say that I'm here because I got an email. I've been focusing on a certain individual in the Apache Junction area. Her name's Colleen Compass. She's got some issues out there at Bulldog Canyon where they found that body all chopped up and burned, and it looks like the law enforcement is out there taking up what they're supposed to, and Jeff actually has done some things. A lot of people aren't still happy. I have to commend Kent for responding quickly in a professional manner to Colleen. It may not be the right answer everybody wants, but you know what? Outstanding. That's what people should do. You need to respond back to them. Let them know what's going on. One of the things that I'm here about, that because we're doing the budget thing, we got the taxes stuff coming up, is the fact that my taxes went up a little bit. It cost me $10.
Could I just have you step away from the mic just a little bit so we get a clear yes?
I like to get close, but anyway.
Yeah.
So $10, my taxes went up a month, which is no big deal. But what concerns me is my house insurance went up $250 a month. That's ridiculous. How can we stop that? I don't want to hear what we can't do. How can we stop that? How can the county help these people out there? Because I'm not the only one. How can you, because Jeff even mentioned at one time, the refunding $400 back to each property owner. I'd like to see that happen, because that property out there has got trash on it, the brush is up, it's usually U.S. Forest Service land, BLM, state trust land. Come on, we need an intergovernmental, agreement, which I don't think we have with these people. Let's get this stuff cleaned up. It affects my property, it affects our property values, it affects my budget at $250 a month for my house payment. And there's other people out there suffering the same thing. What can you do? I don't want to hear what you can't do. What can you do as a county? Let's fix this thing, okay? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any others? Mr. Rovellis.
Roberto Rovellis, resident of the Gold Canyon. I'm here in celebration of our wonderful democratic republic. This week we celebrate the 60th anniversary of Lyndon Johnson's bipartisan enactment of the Civil Rights Act, another one of our country's various attempts at bridging the gap between the hope and the reality of equal justice under the law, a hope reflected in constitutional amendments and in previous civil rights acts dating back to 1866, 1870, 1875, all seemingly failed attempts at ensuring the elusive goal of equal justice under the law, seeking to overcome discrimination and prejudice based on race, color, sex, and religion. Today, we're witnessing yet another foreboding barrier against our Constitution's lofty dream. This week, the Supreme Court added an additional obstacle to our Constitution's unmet goal. In my unvarnished language, it's the continuing fight of white nationalism versus colorblind democracy. By its ruling on presidential immunity for the consummate promoter of white supremacy, the packed partisan court openly declared the willingness to sacrifice Western democracy's seemingly empty platitude that no man is above the law. This is clearly a momentous decision time for those who genuinely believe in our country's unique self-governing democratic republic, and for those who believe that the Constitution's founders were divinely inspired. Now, as never before, our nation's most existential values face an unprecedented political judgment, a choice between two presidential candidates, imperfect as each might be. Our one choice, committed to democracy's foundational value that no one is above the law, the other committed to preservation of personal political power, even if it means the end of our 248-year-old experiment in self-government. The violent insurrectionist who still refuses to accept his defeat by America's voters. Our children and their children deserve to continue seeking that most perfect union. This year's election will either quash those unfulfilled dreams or keep them alive. Our legacy is on trial. Equal justice under the law, it still eludes America. Happy 4th of July, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Rovellis. Is there any others that would like to come before the board? Okay. Before I close, Supervisor Miller and Supervisor Surtee were both mentioned by the public. Supervisor Miller, do you have anything that you would like to add or respond to?
I just want to validate the document that the lady recited one of my statements in. So I'll have the clerk of the board help me determine what that is. I would like to read in better context as to how I address that statement.
Okay. Thank you. I think we have a recording of that, though, that we can look it up. Okay. And then Supervisor Surtee, you were mentioned.
Yeah, regarding that convoluted case in Gold Canyon where I supposedly said something, I have never made a statement on that other than in this forum, and you've never heard me say that, so I have no idea where they got that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll close now the public comments, and we'll now open up number 2, which is presentation of certificates of service to our employees for 20-plus years, or 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Thank you, Chairman. We have 3 employees to honor this morning. One of them is not present, and I believe the director is not present, so I want to say thank you to Curtis Church first, who is a server application specialist with our IT department. As you know, everything that we do pretty much these days is supported by a software application, so that team is very important and very effective, and so thank you to Curtis and that team. Oh, Robert Stanley is here. Hey. Sorry I didn't see you. If you wanted to say anything, please come up.
I'll just say this. Our applications team does a lot of work within the county. We support a lot of applications, many of which y'all use. So just thank you to that team, and happy 4th. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, who I believe is not present, Sergeant Roderick Harrison, 20 years, currently a sergeant, but I believe I don't know if Sheriff Lamb is here still and wants to speak, or if any of our captains. Sounds like he's out in the hall.
I'm going to pull that. Yeah, I'm going to pull that.
That's right.
That part I'm pulling off of the consent item, and I just want to talk a little bit about RJ.
Okay, right.
Maybe
for the retirement with the
right.
With the
maybe
firearms.
mark
Okay.
it.
Yeah, thank you. We can do that then. Last but not least, we have Danielle Williams, who's an appraisal supervisor and has been with us for 20 years, and Assessor Wolf is here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the august board, Pinal County Supervisors. Great day in Pinal County. Another one, Danielle Williams joined the assessor's office 20 years ago. And she came in as an appraiser and has been steadily progressed through the ranks. She completed the training and became a senior appraiser quite a few years ago, in a very short time. In 2015, she was promoted to my appraisal supervisor. She's also a military mom, and her son is finishing up his service in the United States Air Force in Korea. He was been there 3 years as a crew chief on an A-10 flight line. And the best happy news is she recently got married during a fishing trip to the Great Plains States, where on that trip she caught the largest fish, a 23-inch long walleye. So she's had a good last couple of weeks. And she and I are both looking forward to moving into that brand new building where the air conditioning and heating will work before we retire. So Danielle, thank you so much for your service to Pinal County and to the assessor's office. Yeah, I know she's here. We're going to do the picture, or? Yes, we're going to do a picture.
Yeah.
You want us to wait for the picture?
Yeah, let's
Chairman,
wait.
I think we're ready for that picture.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay, because Sheriff Lamb just came back in, so if he wants to
Okay. We can
and
do those remarks
recognize
now, or we
RJ.
can wait for the pull of the consent item. Either way.
Just wait?
Yeah, we'll let Sheriff Lamb.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, my apologies. I was chit-chatting in the hallway. I just wanted to say a few things about Roderick Harrison. He's not here today. He's on sabbatical, but we're going to miss him. 20 years, he's done a lot. He's been on motors. He's been throughout different parts of the agency. Most recently, he stood up our community relations department within the sheriff's office. And I think most of you have had opportunities to see them at events where he's managed the citizens on patrol, the school resource officers. He has been doing a lot as a community relations sergeant over the last 4 or 5 years and has done an amazing job standing that up, and we're going to miss him dearly. We wish him the best of luck, but he has been a tremendous asset, like all of our men and women are, to this agency. And I know he's not here today, but I would hope that he would listen to this and know how much we appreciate him and the service he's given to this county.
Thank you, Sheriff. I think we're ready now then, right, Leo? If we get a picture with all of them. Mark, you want to stand in? I know he's better looking, but maybe you could stand in.
Move around a little bit, you'll blur.
I don't need to be in it, right? Because we didn't. Sure. Hey, Kevin. They're grabbing one more picture, so you're just gonna hold it. Sorry. I know you're in charge here. You're messing up my math. We all know who's in charge, especially when the camera's up. Thank you.
One more time, everybody. One step over. Right? Yep. More a little bit. There you go. There we go. Nice. Okay, is everybody happy? Are you sure? Let's see it. Big smile. And 3, 2, and again, let me do one more. Make you look skinnier. 3, 2, one more. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
That Hogan Heroes that I hear out there.
Yeah, LeBeau's going to come out.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Leal, County Manager's Report.
Thank you, Chairman. Unfortunately, I did not take a picture of this yesterday, probably because the heat got to me, but Chris Keller and I was able to attend at the Central Arizona College yesterday with President Jackie Elliott, her staff, as well as LGES's executives and their HR staff, the progress on the Advanced Manufacturing Workforce Training Center on the Superstition campus that's being constructed. Walls are up. Everything's in motion. There's some final design elements and security measures that are being implemented, but we should have a certificate of occupancy in late November, if all keeps on schedule, and probably a ribbon cutting maybe early January of 25. It's about an 18,000 square foot facility. It'd be quite remarkable with high-tech stuff in there. So speaking of engineering, June 23rd is International Women in Engineering Day. It's an international awareness campaign celebrating the work and achievements of women engineers. The day provides an important opportunity to recognize contributions, progress, and impact of women in engineering around the world. To recognize this, Development Services produced a video with Lindsay Randall, who works on our engineering team and was recently promoted to the District 3 project manager position. If we could play that.
So I am Lindsay Randall. I work for Pinal County Public Works as an engineer. I take a subdivision project from its beginning concept all the way to the end of the project. They have 8 parcels. We make sure it's safe, it's following our standards. It's a sustainable project. I'm looking at final plats. I'm making sure that they're following the standards and that they're incorporating everything that they need into the plans. I didn't always want to be an engineer. I wanted to be a doctor, actually, but then I took anatomy and decided that wasn't for me. Got interested in engineering, and then I decided to go to Arizona State University to get my civil engineering degree. I really actually liked math. I liked doing projects. I liked seeing a project from a concept and taking it all the way to completion. I didn't know that it was a male-dominated field at all until I got to my class, and I'm sitting in a classroom of 90 boys and 2 girls. There's not really very many women. I could probably count on my hands how many women I've actually worked with. So when I started, my manager in flood control was actually a woman. She encouraged me. She wanted to see me excel in my career. I think seeing a young female joining into the engineering group, she helped me get the certificates I needed, training I needed, and was encouraging me to pursue greater positions. Our plans will show water lines, grading, paving, utility lines. We're looking at all of it to make sure that it is running well. I'm making sure that they're following the standards. Roads is a really important thing for Pinal County. Right-of-way for future dedication and for future projects that may come in. Traffic impact analysis are really important to make sure that the plans have turn lanes and extra lanes to include all that extra traffic that's going to be on our roadways now. I'll be also meeting with the residents of Pinal County, and if they have any roadway concerns or drainage concerns that affect the roadways, that we can come to a solution for them. So I think seeing women in the field encourages me to do better as an engineer. Also getting it out to the younger kids that this is an option, not just for the boys, but for the girls too. I think having a day to celebrate the women in engineering is great. It is not a field that is overpopulated in women, so let's celebrate those women that are in that role.
Thank you, Chairman.
You bet. That was a good one. We do have a lot of young women that are working for us in our county that are done an excellent job. Okay, item number 4, Supervisor District updates. We'll start with District number 1, Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The town halls went well. They were well attended. Tomorrow we have the Great American Forest Celebration in Maricopa, Copper Sky Regional Park. Mr. Vitiello said it was at 6:30. Or was it 6:30 or 7? Yeah, so it's 6:30 to 9:30. And then again, the 4th of July celebration in Coolidge at the Kenilworth Sports Complex starts at 6 and fireworks at 9. And then we've learned that portions, I think we talked about this maybe publicly, but to reiterate, funding for portions of Highway 347 improvements were cut from the state budget this year. And even though we have a Republican majority and the majority whip lives in our county right here, we can't always get what we want. But I'm confident that will be pushed through in the next session. So that's it for my updates. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, we'll be out in Arizona City, working my corner, I call it. I'll be out there campaigning a little bit, but also we'll be at the golf course this evening in Arizona City watching the fireworks. That ought to be fun. We'll be around through the Copper Corridor this weekend, I believe in Mammoth, Oracle, and San Manuel, dispelling rumors and lies that are being told. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Surtee.
Of course, everybody shouldn't have to be told about fireworks and how dry it is. But this is not really so much an update on my district, but in the beginning of the meeting, we always have a full house and everybody's here and pays attention. By the time we get to the end of the meeting, there's going to be about 5 people left in the audience. So I just want to, a press release went out about the property tax to make it sound like we're raising property taxes. But no, we're actually lowering the property tax rate from 3.56 to 3.45. So I want everybody to understand that before more misinformation goes out.
Thank you. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have anything other than Casa Grande will be celebrating the 4th of July with parades and fireworks as well. And I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th and a safe 4th of July. And hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. In the Santan Valley area in my district, I just want to do a shout out to our library district and what they've done in that region. Every Tuesday, they have a reading class that they bring all the kids, all the parents. They'll bring their children in, and it's so well attended, and they had to split it up into two different things. These last few weeks, they've had Public Works come out and bring the tractors and the equipment for the kids to climb up on and to be able to get hands-on. And even then what happened was many of our Public Works people read stories to them. This last go-around was our Sheriff's Department. They presented. They also did the same thing, read to the kids. I think that's so imperative and so vital that our youth are associating with a lot of our, especially the Sheriff's Department, but it was pretty cool that PW came out, our Public Works Department came out and spent time with those kids. They need to know a little bit about who runs that equipment or who's behind the badge, and that's an opportunity for them to get that firsthand as they're real people and they're good people. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to our library and their efforts and what they're doing there in Santan Valley. So, okay, now we're on to item number 5. Miss Lewis, Dana, there you are. This is an update in regards to our elections, preparations, and this is information only.
Good morning, Chairman Goodman, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Pinal County Recorder. Today is July 3rd, and today is the first day of in-person early voting. I also want to let you know that this morning mailed out were 124,698 ballots out of Phoenix, and that we've already, it's kind of exciting for my world, had 18 people vote early in person at our satellite offices. So, the voter registration deadline for the primary election was July 1st. We'd like to remind people that the last day to request a ballot or second issue is July 19th. Also a reminder, if you are party not designated, other, independent, you still have the ability to request, whether it be in-person early voting, election day, or by mail, request a Democrat, Republican, or city and town style ballot at any of those locations. Our satellite offices are open from 8 to 5 at Casa Grande, Santan Valley, Apache Junction, Maricopa, and the new Pinal Votes Building. Drop boxes are located internally and externally at the 5 satellite offices, plus Building E and the Old Elections Building in Coolidge, Eloy Public Health, Oracle Justice Court, Arizona City PCSO, and the Santan Valley Public Health. Our pre-election voter registration statistic reports will be available to the state and party chairs next week. Statutory early ballot return reports are now being reported to the state and county chairs. We were reporting early ballot return number percentages via social media starting 7/8. Again, we're always working, and we do want to acknowledge the fact that the anniversary of the Native Right to Vote Act is July 15th, 1948, and there will be a celebration July 12th that several organizations are participating in. If you have questions about that, you can email me. Poll worker training is underway for the approximately 800 Election Day heroes that have volunteered to be part of our process. We are currently accomplishing a more hands-on training and to assure accountability with completing of the official ballot report and our audits. A recent audit was conducted of all security items such as door keys, GPS, RFID cards, and YubiKeys for accountability purposes. Staff was also briefed on the importance to remain vigilant. Vehicle and safe mail handling trainings have been accomplished to ensure the safety of staff and voters. We are requesting citizens interested in civic engagement residing in the areas of Dudleyville, Mammoth, Randolph, 11 Mile, Choo Choo to please apply to be a poll worker on our website, and then also please follow up with an email. We're at numbers right now, but we always like to have a couple extra for those areas. And that is the report for the MOU.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, to clarify, this is information only and no questions.
Correct.
Did you want to play the LNA video, Natasha? We did recently complete our logic and accuracy test with the Secretary of State's office. we passed. And there is a brief video if you'd like.
Yeah, love it.
In Pinal County, we choose to use central tabulation for our ballots, which means our tabulation machines are here at the votes building. We also use express votes for our ADA machines for accessibility purposes for our voters. That all needs to go through a stress test, and it needs to go through logic and accuracy testing to make sure all of our equipment is working appropriately. But then the Secretary of State is required by statute to come in and do the same. They go to all 15 counties in Arizona.
They already know what the results are. We're proving that our machines are tabulating them to match.
This election coming up, I happen to be a candidate, so it's really important that people understand that I've put a buffer between me and those processes. It doesn't mean I'm not administering the election, but I need to make sure that the people that we've employed here in Pinal County's Elections Department are handling the process. So instead of being in tabulation today, I was actually in the fishbowl explaining the processes to the visitors that were here today. They asked if it was open to the public, and it is. It's always posted in the paper, but I was able to invite them to come actually watch the process and watch how the sausage is made. We always invite county party chairs here, so we were lucky enough to not only have them in the tabulation area, but we also had a member from the AZGOP showed up, and we did have some candidates who were here in the room watching the process. When the Secretary of State's office comes in, they don't tell us how many ballots they're going to tabulate and how many undervotes, overvotes. It's completely anonymous to us what's going to happen. Shows up with the results in a sealed envelope, kind of indicative of the seals that we put on ballot boxes. And so there is that really wonderful moment when they're opening up that envelope and we are comparing those results to the results we have off of our equipment. We had the Republican Party Chair, Belinda Rodriguez, and we had the Democrat Party Chair, Lisa Sainer, who were checking our results. And in the end, we passed our Arizona Secretary of State LNA test. Now we can have an election. Our equipment is good. We'll now go to our machines, go to a zero report, and then starting July 3rd, when early ballots go out and we're able to vote early in person, we'll be ready to rock and roll, and we're expecting to have a pretty decent amount of ballots on July 8th.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day, and happy birthday, America.
Thank you. Okay, item number 6, discussion, disapproval of proclamation declaring the month of July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month. Jasmine, there we go.
Good morning.
If you state your, state your name.
So Jasmine Guillen, and this is Kelly Fox, and we're from the Pinal County Open Space, Trails, and Regional Parks Department. So before we proceed, I wanted to give you a little bit of spill for those who don't know what we actually do. So the Open Space, Trails, and Regional Parks Department oversees 4 neighborhood parks, 96 miles of regional trails, 7 trailheads, and 2 community centers, 1 leased equestrian center, and 1 regional park with another on the way. And we manage the Pinal County Fairgrounds contract. In total, that's 1,480 acres and 23 sites. But not only do we do that, we provide outdoor leisure, recreation, environmental, cultural, and natural resource management services to Pinal County residents and visitors so they can have access to understanding the enjoyment of the natural assets of Pinal County. So our department is made up of 7 individuals and our interim director, Himanshu Patel. So that's a lot to cover with our staff, but we are working hard and doing amazing things. So since 1985, the United States has celebrated Park and Recreation Month in the month of July. This request is no way saying, let's go hiking during July. We strongly encourage hiking and recreating responsibly, so that includes not hiking in the heat or during inclement weather. We are really just trying to bring awareness to what exactly our department provides for the community all year round. So for the month of July, we are bringing the outdoors in. Our department has made up a calendar of events throughout Pinal County where we'll be doing educational programs and even an art contest that individuals, all ages, can participate in. Some of those programs include Wildlife Wonders, which we'll actually have wildlife on site, Outdoor preparedness and safety, with dark sky hikes, we have at Peralta. We have a desert tortoise class, and then one that's Arizona summer extreme weather and safety. And this is really just to teach and educate the individuals, what they don't know about outdoor recreation. That calendar will be posted on social media and the website for everyone to see. But just know our department is working on amazing things, and we can't wait to share them with Pinal County and visitors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Can we discuss something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited about the regional parks, which is now in the name, and something that we've been working on. We had requests, for the last month and a half, I've been on the fire, and it's so dry out there. So we're going to be installing, as you go down Peralta Road and you're entering into the state land, the National Forest has the dials where the fire danger, high or low, we'll actually be doing those ourselves going into our regional parks, just to alert people that, hey, once you're in here, no fire, no sparks, no nothing. So that's part of the transition of us getting into parks instead of just the trails that we've had in the past. So excited about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Surdy. Okay, any other discussion or any other comments? All right, do I have a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item number 6 is presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's official. Somebody going to read that the proclamation?
Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Pinal County, promoting health, wellness, and time spent in nature. And whereas Parks and Recreation positively impacts mental health, cognitive performance, and well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for outdoor recreation, popular sports, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities, such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education, are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas Parks and Recreation provide adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Pinal County recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, the Pinal County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in Pinal County and commend the Pinal County Open Space, Trails, and Regional Parks Department for the profound and enduring impacts they consistently make in our community. Proclaimed this 3rd day of July, 2024.
Picture? Can we get a picture with you guys?
And I'm Kelly Fox.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't put myself in there.
Do this. Go on this side of her. Scooch over. Scooch over. Come over so you're on this side of her. I think. You're over a little bit, sir. There we go, that'll work. Come over just a little bit. There you go. There we go, I can see everybody. All right. And are we ready? And 3, 2, happy faces. Nice. One more. 3, 2. Nice. Thank you.
Supervisor Miller, are you still online? We're going to go to number 7 now.
I am online.
This is updates from you.
Really don't have much of a report other than, they've gone sine die. I think there was some disappointments in some of the funding, 347 in particular. But, and there's still chatter of a possible special session, but nothing's happened, to my knowledge, lately. I can tell you, though, that there's a lot of groups that are already meeting to formulate strategy for next year for legislation that didn't get passed. But other than that, that's really all I have to report on item number 7, unless there's any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Okay. Thank you, Supervisor. Item number 8, Purchasing Division Report. Angie Woods.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Happy 4th of July, and actually happy new fiscal year. So today's Purchasing Division Report is packed full of lots of things because, as you know, it's a new fiscal year. We're creating all new purchase orders, all new things for the new fiscal year. So please bear with me as I get through this report. The board is requested to approve a contract award for RFP 242328 for GPS services for the Elections Department. The board is requested to approve 5 contract amendments. RFP 193325 for detention food services, RFP 202025 for workforce development data analyst, RFP 220726 for public health clinic services, RFP 231527 for vehicle and equipment parts repair and services, IFB 240328 for pavement maintenance materials. The board is requested to approve 1 competition impracticable purchase request over $100,000 for the Greater Phoenix Council, which is used by our workforce development, economic development department. The board is requested to approve 2 change orders that exceed our minimum thresholds. PO number 245198, PO number 248160. Lastly, the board is requested to approve following cooperative purchases over $250,000. Requisition number 170520, requisition number 170523, requisition number 170537, requisition number 170538, requisition number 170573, requisition number 170592, requisition number 170593, requisition number 170693, and lastly, requisition number 170726. Are there any questions?
Any questions, anybody? None. Okay. We have a motion moving forward then.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the Purchasing Division Report as presented.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. I got an aye out of you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to item number 9, all consent items. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda, unless a board member, county management, or any member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. I've asked for myself, I want item C and AX to be pulled. Kevin Castile, he has asked that item AG be pulled, and Supervisor Surdy has asked that AQ be pulled. Is anybody from the board?
Mr. Chair, I would like to pull AJ for a correction.
Clear. AJ. Any others from the board? County manager? Anybody from the public? Seeing that there's none. Okay, so we've got C, AX, AG, AQ, and AJ. So can I get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, to be clear, that's C, AX, AG, AQ, and AJ.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda items A through BK minus item C, AX, AG, AQ, and AJ.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Item C. I've asked this to be pulled because this individual, this is one of our volunteers that we put on a committee, and it's a little different of a appointment. This individual actually works for the county already, and so I just wanted to, but he lives in Santan Valley. And so he's been asked to serve on the Transportation Advisory Committee, and I couldn't think of anybody better. He drives those roads every day coming to office here. So I just want to recognize Todd Williams and his willingness to serve, and he's a good citizen all the way around, plus he's been a good employee. So if you could join with me in accepting him. But before we do that, we got to take a vote, I think. So can we get a motion moving forward on item number C?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item C as presented.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, we have another aye, so we're good. It's unanimous.
You're saying we have 4 ayes?
We had 4 ayes. Okay, come on up. I'd like to get a picture with you if I could, Todd. Kevin, you here?
Actually, come back over this way a little bit, right there. Stay right there. Nice. And there we go. 3, 2, there we go. And again. 3, 2, 1, nice smile. Look out, 30. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, now we're on to item, what was the other ones? AG, who, and that was requested by Kevin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kevin Costello from the Pinal County Attorney's Office. This item was pulled to correct a typographical error. It is a resolution accepting a substitute third-party trust agreement for the third-party trust agreement that is already in place for the Belo Camino community. In the first paragraph, it references the existing third-party trust as being approved on August 24th, 2002. That should read August 24th, 2022. So we would request that you approve that with the correction.
Okay. Any other questions by anybody? Can I get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item AG with the recommended corrections.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, there he is. I got to hesitate for you, Brother Miller. But it's unanimous. Okay. Item number AJ. This is a lease agreement between the town of Florence and Pinal County.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, AJ, I was just looking through, and I'm trying to find it right here. I believe the address is incorrect. It states it's 121 West 22nd Street, but I believe the true address is East 22nd Street, according to the maps.
Is anybody here to verify that and validate that? Here comes Joey.
Is Google Maps wrong, Mr. Ortiz?
No, I believe you are correct, and Google is correct. Yeah, it is a typo.
I just tried to find it and said, where is that building? I can't figure that out. Now we're okay.
I appreciate the eagle eyes there. Thank you.
We call him Eagle up here. You know that, right? Okay. Does that answer? We're good.
That's
okay.
mine.
Let's. Can we get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item AJ with the correction from 121 West 22nd Street to 121 East 22nd Street.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Okay, AQ.
Everyone else has left the call.
He's left the building. AQ.
I guess I won't take it personally.
Jeff, you had a question, right? Supervisor Surdy.
So, Mr. Volkmer, this is like 5 or 6 years in the making, clear back to when I was still mayor, and feels like this is never going to get here. So can you explain where this is coming from, who will manage it, what can it be used for, and also it says the Kroger National Opioid Settlement. Does that mean there are others, or is this only one of them? And is there more to come? And how do we brace for what's coming?
Chair, Supervisor Surdy, in law school they teach you not to ask like 35 questions in a row because it's a guarantee that they're going to forget to answer all of them. So I'm going to do my very best to answer those questions. If I miss one, just ask again. I'm not trying to not answer the question. Real kind of big picture, though. About probably 6 years ago now, this county authorized my office to begin looking into suing a number of various bad actors that produced opioids, flooded our markets with them, and then essentially encouraged doctors to overprescribe. Initially, we were on our own, and we created a lawsuit, and we initiated our own lawsuit and sued a slew of different people. At the same time, there was a sort of national lawsuit that was going, and that was led here in Arizona by, I know it was Grant Wood's firm that was down in Tucson, and Maricopa had a firm, and there was sort of these two different paths that were moving forward. There were those that were suing on their own and those that were suing collectively. What ended up happening is a lot of these defendants basically said, hey, we can't fight a million different lawsuits. Like we're giving disclosure in the same cases over and over and over again. So they came forward and said, look, if you can unify every county and your state and all your municipalities, and you can all join together and create one lawsuit, we will be able to save legal fees and actually allocate more of those funds towards you. And that became known as the One Arizona Opioid Settlement. So ultimately the board, and I believe it was the past iteration or when you first took office, you authorized us to join that multi-state suit essentially out of Cleveland. So collectively, we've been working to, one by one, come to settlements with each one of the defendants. So this is probably the 5th, maybe even 6th separate settlement that we have come to. This one is a settlement specifically with Kroger. Those of you that aren't familiar, Kroger is the parent company of Fry's. Their action in this essentially is Distributors from pharmacies have an obligation to track and make sure that essentially to be a balance and a check on overprescription. One of the allegations amongst several were that they failed in that obligation. They were named as a defendant. This has been in negotiations for quite some time, and they just recently agreed to a $1.2 billion settlement. I don't have the exact things in front of me. It's probably a no-fault settlement. That's the way they typically work. The one thing I will let you know, though, is it is typically paid out over a period of time. Most of our prior settlements are between 16, 17, sometimes as long as 18 years. This is an 11-year settlement, so that $1.2 billion, that's for everybody. And then what comes to Arizona specifically, half goes to the state, half goes to the counties and the cities. It's a roughly 50-50. Maybe it's a 55-45 split. The terms of the settlement actually control what we can spend the money on. Sort of real big picture, generally speaking, it's designed to fix the problem that opioids create in our community. So it's designed for treatment. It's designed to offset some of the costs to probation, to county attorney's offices, potentially to law enforcement. It was alluded to in the call of the public earlier. There was about $100 million swept out of the AG's account that was specifically designed for this. Our state legislature determined that they should be using that money into the prisons. So they swept $100 million out of this opioid settlement. They sent it into the prisons. The AG sued, ultimately was unsuccessful in that lawsuit. So that money is going there. It did not touch our money. Our money is actually under the control right now of our public health department. I know I've had several meetings with them. Their intention, I believe, is to my words, not theirs, but to set like a czar up. So the idea is we'll have this fund of money where people can make applications, local community providers can make applications and essentially get grant funds. The idea is these funds, our allocation of this money, and again, $1.2 billion for the U.S., it's going to keep funneling down. There's not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're going to see annually from this, but it will be money that will be combined with those funds that are already there. And the purpose is, again, to try to combat the damage that opioids have done in our community. And that's sort of the big picture. Okay. I'm sure I missed something. Do you have any kind of follow-up?
Why is it called Kroger, and are there others?
So Kroger is just because this is a very specific settlement with Kroger. So we've had a bunch of different ones. We've had a distributor, I think Cardinal something, I think was one of them we settled with. So essentially this is only the agreement with Kroger. So we have multiple defendants that we are in negotiations with. There are still a few that are out there and several we have already agreed with. So this only controls the Kroger money, but it all goes into that same one Arizona opioid settlement fund.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor, if I could
Yes.
just add on to, we have also settled previously with Johnson & Johnson. That was one of the ones. Another one was Janssen Pharmaceuticals. There's been a multitude of the various pharmacies, Walgreens, CVS, Walmart. Those are the ones that mostly been, and there's been about 6, as Ken said, but that's the big ones. And they keep coming in as they're able to progress.
Ultimately, if they don't settle with us, there will be a trial. It'll be a very long, very costly trial, and some of the companies potentially, obviously Kroger's very big, but some of them could be looking at bankruptcy or restructuring and those type of things. So we, once we can establish their culpability, we then go to them and say, hey, let's get a resolution, because if we go to trial, it could be 2 or 3 years out. You could be looking at a 6-month or a year-long trial, and then you have another 3, 4, 5 years of appellate. So it could be a decade before we see any of those funds. So the idea is if we can get the funds sooner, actually get them back into our community to sort of reverse some of these impacts. They've also been used to purchase an enormous amount of Narcan. I know that our public health department and various people have used the money for Narcan, which is actually the drug that will reverse an opioid overdose.
Okay. Any other questions?
Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, just for the record, Supervisor Miller is back on the line. Supervisor Miller?
Did you have any questions, Supervisor Miller?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, do we have a motion moving, since everybody's questions were answered, do we have any motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item AQ as presented.
Second.
And we have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Just for clarification, Steve, you're in favor. You voted yes in favor of the motion, correct?
I did.
Okay. All right. I got to slow down a little bit. Okay, item AX. I asked this one to be pulled because I know RJ personally. And I would agree with Sheriff Lamb. He's going to be greatly missed. I've participated in many activities as far as community activities. He has ramrodded, I don't know how many out there in Santan Valley area, from the Halloween parties that they have at one of the junior highs there at Florence School District to just community involvement, brought in the county attorney's office where they've been a part of that. And in our public works and the different agencies that have been a part of all the community to just spread the message. And he's a big one that's in regards to our youth. I've watched him interact with our youth. He loves them, he cares about them, and he's concerned about them. And I just can't go on enough about Officer Harrison and his service that he gave. Mark, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, now thank you for the recognition. I know you've spent a lot of time, Santan Valley being one of the larger areas in the county, a lot of community events in that area, and we appreciate your partnership in those events, partnerships with all the supervisors in the different areas. I think you've seen the value that RJ brings, and certainly a career worthy of getting a little bit of a bonus on the back end by being able to purchase his handgun and his rifle. So we thank you. I thank you for pulling it and saying those kind words.
You bet. My pleasure. So with that, can I get a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item AX as presented.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Let's see here. We've got that one done. I'm going to recess now the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I'm going to open the Pinal County Flood Control District Board. It's now open, the Flood District Board meeting. Let me get my notes here. Where are we at here? Okay, I have, first of all, we have a consent item. Item number A is, do we have any discussion from the board members that would like to pull that? Anybody from county manager, anybody from the public? Seeing that there's none, can I get a motion moving forward on item number A?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item A in the consent items for the Pinal County Flood Control District agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It is unanimous. Okay. Item number 2 is a public hearing, and this is discussion, approval, disapproval for the adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 tax levy for the Pinal County Flood Control District. And it looks like we have Angela Woods here to speak about it.
Hello again, Chairman Goodman, members of the board. Angie Woods, Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. Before you, we have a public hearing for the adoption of the 24-25 tax levy for the Pinal County Flood Control District in the amount of $5,600,999 per ARS 48254. The public hearing, because we are not adopting a tax levy that is below the levy for last year, we have put this notice into the paper. Now is the time that our public can come forth, speak about the levy, and really what it accounts to is if a primary property or a property tax owner, with a $100,000 home, the levy that we have chosen would be approximately $16.93. if that same property owner with a $100,000 home, if we would have adopted the truth in taxation rate, we would have only taxed them $15.94. So there's a difference in 99 cents for that property tax owner. Therefore, we hold this hearing.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, real quick. So is this the same rate as last year?
It's exactly.
Yes. So for this TNT, truth in taxation, TNT, we're not raising the tax. It's merely the inflation of the property values. And this is not a $100,000 home, but it's the assessed value of the home, not the value that you could go sell it on the street. Just
Chairman Goodman, Vice Chair McClure, that's correct. I apologize for not making that clearer. The assessed valuation of $100,000. Yes, we are adopting the same rate as last year. The levy is included in our budget. That is a future item in this agenda. And we've come to that decision in our previous discussions with you. Our flood control district has many projects that this tax funds, and there are more projects in the pipeline than what this tax actually covers. Therefore, we didn't choose to decrease that rate.
yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of Angie? Okay. We do have a public hearing to this particular item. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak in regards to this item? Seeing that there's none, I will now close the public hearing and ask for a motion moving forward.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 2 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
It's a roll call.
Oh, we got to do a roll call. We got to do a roll call, Supervisor.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Supervisor Surtee,
Aye.
Vice Chairman McClure,
Aye.
Chairman Goodman.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will now close the Pinal County Flood Control District and open up the Pinal County Public Health Service District. What we have here is consent items. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or member of the public objects at the time that the item is presented. Anybody from the board? County manager? Anybody from the public? Okay, can I get a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve consent items A and B of the Health Services District agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh.
You're too fast.
I got to be, okay. We're good?
Just for the record, just make the announcement that that vote was in favor.
That, Supervisor Miller's was in favor. Okay. I will now close the Pinal County Public Health Services and reconvene our Pinal County Board of Supervisors meeting. Item number 12. This is in regards to discussion, approval, disapproval of comprehensive sign review package, case CSR-001-24. And we have Kendall here to present, correct?
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Patrick Roberts, Senior Planner.
Oh, I messed up.
Presenting on behalf of Kendall Riley. And before I jump into this, I would just like to make a note that the presentation for this case was amended as of July 1st. There was 2 issues with the original presentation as agendized, one referencing a 4-foot increase in height and one referencing a misspelling of the, a typo of the stipulation 4 referring to the wrong time for shutoff. But we'll get into that. This is for case CSR 00124. The applicant for this case is the owner for the case is Victory Lutheran Church with Amanda Laridson of Precise Sign Co. representing. The proposal here is for a Total sign area of 62.5 square feet of an electronic message board sign for the church's utilization. This is a property located at 6173 East Arizona Farms Road in Florence, off of Arizona Farms Road. This is a map of the county showing the location of the property in question. A vicinity map showing the surrounding zoning for the property. And an aerial map showing the surrounding context. There are some residences to the west and south of the property, and you can see Hunt Highway to the west as well. This is an area showing the notification boundary for this case. And this is some aerial images that show some details of the signage being replaced. The existing Christ the Victor sign on the right there is intended to be replaced with the signage that's proposed in this package. An image looking north from the property. All right, so this is an image of the proposed changes to the property's signage. The electronic message board sign seen at the top is proposed to be double-sided for a total sign area of 62.5 square feet. The aluminum cabinet signage below with end caps and double-sided Christ the Victor logoing is already permitted by the sign code and isn't considered as part of this sign package, in addition to the existing addressing signage which is required on the sign. So some items for consideration of the board. The electronic message board signs are currently not permitted without a board approval under the Pinal County Sign Code. The sign review committee met regarding this case, and the SRC recommended approval at a vote of 4-0. And the community development director recommended approval with the inclusion of 4 additional stipulations. And the county has received no public comment to date on the signage. The SRC recommended approval of this case with 4 stipulations, and due to the typo, I'll go ahead and read those out. 1, the sign's minimum display time shall not change more than once every 8 seconds. 2, illumination levels. Electronic message displays shall incorporate photocell/light sensors with automatic dimming technology to adjust display brightness in accordance with ambient light conditions. Displays shall have a brightness level of no greater than 0.3 foot candles above ambient light conditions at any property line. 3, maintenance. Any allowed electronic message display that malfunctions or is damaged shall be repaired or disconnected within 24 hours by the property owner or operator of the sign. And 4, the sign shall be deactivated at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. At this point, does the board have any questions of staff?
Any questions? Doesn't appear that there is.
And the applicant is present if you have any questions of them.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Does anybody want to hear from the applicant? We're good? Okay. This is a public hearing, so I do have one individual that would like to come and speak to this. Tim Schwartz.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors. Just wanted to say a few words. As you could see from some of them pictures, our church is not what you would call a traditional church building, but rather a building previously in business as a lumber yard. This has caused challenges with us being able to distinguish ourselves as a house of worship, and this LED sign will be instrumental in our ability to reach and serve the community with the uplifting message of Jesus Christ. We also have a food pantry on this same campus, which annually administers more than 15,000 meals to over 3,000 households to those in need, and we know we could do more if our community knew who we were and what we offered. Of course, we feel that this is a worthwhile project, which in turn enhances our mission, which is for all generations to know God's work, seek the lost, and nurture the body of Christ, and also our vision, which is to build a refuge where God's love, mercy, and grace is experienced. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
Tim Schwartz, and I live in the Anthem Merrill Ranch community in Florence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to come and speak in regards to this? Okay, seeing that there's none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion moving forward then.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 12 with 4 stipulations.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion clears. It's unanimous. Okay. Item number 13. This is a discussion, approval, disapproval of First Amendment of public right-of-way agreement between Pinal County and Crown Castle Fiber LLC. It looks like, Joe, you're coming up to present. Mr. Ortiz.
Good afternoon, Chair, Board of Supervisors, Joe Ortiz, Pinal County Development Services Managing Director. Item 13 relates to a previous agenda item that was approved by the board on June 19th, which was a right-of-way use license agreement between Pinal County and Crown Castle. Today's agenda item is the next step forward on that, which is an amendment. The first item on last board was just the agreement itself to give access for that utility to be within our right-of-way. Today's agenda item is more down in the weeds of putting together standards and stipulations and some actual specifications on how we're going to allow them to logistically put their utility within our right-of-way. It is a little unique. It is as far as their process. So there were no real standards for MAG, Maricopa Association of Governments, that we could piggyback off of, that we had to come back and sit with Crown Castle and define how we were going to let them utilize our right-of-way. And it's not typical trenching. It's micro trenching is what they call it. So that's all this is about, is trying to tie down those standards.
Okay. Any questions from anybody? Okay. Seeing that there's none, can I get a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 13 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes.
before moving on to item 14. I've been told that we're apparently going to reconsider item AJ. I know you know also, as there is a discrepancy in the address.
There is now.
There is now, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need to, what do we need to do on that? Do we need to have a motion to?
Yes, need the motion to reconsider with a vote and then actual action on the actual item.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we reconsider item AJ.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All right. So we're
Apparently, Google is incorrect. You know,
Don't ever trust Google. You know. And don't trust me, because my crack staff got me. They text me just as soon as it was done. You got it corrected. So.
I know. He had you second guessing what you were saying.
Yeah, I know it. I always believe what Google says, but not anymore. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the table to reconsider that item. So we're there. I'm sorry, Natasha.
So the reconsideration motion has been approved. So now what we need to do is we need to take action on item AJ as it is written on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Yes, so I move that we approve item AJ as presented in the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
And with that, Mr. Chair, please move on.
Okay. Okay. Item number 14. This is discussion, approval, disapproval of the pay structure and salaries assigned to the Pinal County Sheriff's Office and the Law Enforcement Step Plan. Approval of this item also approves a fiscal year 2024-2025 budget amendment from the General Fund Financial Stability Reserve to salaries and EREs in the Sheriff's Office. Supervisor. Sheriff Lamb.
There we go. Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, first of all, I want to thank you for your continued partnership on this here. Over the last 4 years, and well, actually for the last 8 years as a sheriff, you guys have continually been partners in making sure that our employees are taken care of. And on behalf of the employees, I want to extend a thanks to you. And that hasn't stopped. I mean, obviously, you guys agreed that we would do a market study every couple of years on deputies, detention officers. And this year, there's been an extensive market study search. And I don't think it's any surprise that the starting pay and the pay structures for a lot of the agencies are continuing to go up to the point where we've actually started to lose a few people. And with the uncertainty, there's going to be a new sheriff, and so that automatically creates a level of uncertainty and uncomfortableness. And I appreciate the county being willing to look at what we can do to make sure that we keep all of our employees here. And I think pay is certainly, while it's not the key component, it is certainly an important part of why people may come to work here or may not, or may leave here. And so I want to thank Mary Ellen and Angie for their work and the county just helping get that market study done. What we're voting on today is the results of that market study and your approval, or hopefully your approval. I know the guys are very excited about a potential bump in the pay. I think it's much needed. It gets us pretty close, really close to where the other agencies are, and I think the guys are very enthusiastic. And on behalf of them, I know at least the ones in the back have said, make sure you tell them thank you on our behalf. So they are very thankful. We're optimistic that we can get this pay inclusion into the amended budget. And I don't know what questions you may have. They're probably going to be better answered by the people that understand all the numbers, Angie and Mary Ellen. But on behalf of the sheriff's office and the sheriff, I just want to thank you for doing what you can and keeping the sheriff's office moving forward in the direction we've created. People wanting to come work here, and you guys being willing to keep them here once we get them here. And that certainly is shown by your willingness to look at the pay. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions for myself or for anybody else.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
You bet. Go ahead.
This is probably directed to Ms. Shepard. And you can stay there too, Sheriff Lamb. So a couple of years ago, we did a study on this and we raised salaries, correct? Is that correct? It was 2 years ago that we did this?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor. Yes, it was approximately 2 years ago in 2022. I believe we did the last adjustment to the step plans.
And this was for the Sheriff's Department and detention officers?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's for deputies and detention officers. It's all the sheriff. And so this year we're doing this for the deputies, and then next year we'll be doing one for the detention officers. I just don't want them to feel left out. I just wanted to make sure that that's clear.
Thank you for acknowledging the detention staff. The agreement when we entered into these step plans was that we would be looking at them every 2 years, as the sheriff indicated, but we would be doing it on a rotational basis. So we look at the sworn staff, the law enforcement, and then in the next year look at detention.
Right. I was just wanting to get that clarified so that nobody feels left out. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor McClure, Supervisors, thank you for pointing that out, because we do need to address also the detention officers, and I want to publicly thank them for their patience, because this is tough because the economy is changing so rapidly. It's really difficult for us to keep up. We wish we could have done them both this year. We didn't want to incur such a strain on the county and the county budget. And we look forward to helping them and getting their pay next year. I wish I could be here to be part of it, but thank you for acknowledging them as well, because they absolutely are in that process, and we look forward to getting them taken care of next.
We'll invite you back next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mary Ellen.
Yes, you were going to present, right, Mary Ellen? Besides what Sheriff Lamb just did.
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, I'm happy to answer any questions that may be brought up related to this topic.
Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you going to have a presentation, or should I just ask questions?
Please ask questions.
Okay,
if you would.
so Does this salary package bring us on the level, on par with other agencies? A little bit less, a little bit more? Where is this at?
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, Supervisor Kavanaugh, that's an excellent question. And let me explain the process, and hopefully I'll get to your question in a very specific answer. We looked at, and by we, please allow me to acknowledge the compensation team in HR as well as the HR staff with PCSO. We looked at all the law enforcement agencies, both counties and cities, in Pinal County and the adjacent counties, as well as counties across the state, to look at what their pay ranges were for law enforcement. We averaged that data. Then we looked at who the sheriff's office identified were their primary competitors. That's predominantly driven by the East Valley cities, as well as some of the, like Queen Creek, as well as others. So we looked at that data and then averaged that. Then we looked at the primary counties, which are Maricopa, Pima, and Yavapai. And then we looked at our city comparators, Mesa representing the East Valley cities, as well as Queen Creek, and then the largest city and town here in Pinal County. And looking at all of that data is how we establish this step plan ranges before you today. So we are ahead of many. We are still behind some based upon those averages. Our midpoint was based upon the averages of our competitors. When we applied it to the step plan, that means our entry is in par with our primary competitors. It may be for some ahead, for like I can speak to Maricopa County, it's slightly behind. So all of that to say, it is based upon a lot of data meant to make us competitive, but we will always be behind some and ahead of others based upon our strategies. And then the truth of the matter is the pay grades change. It's a very volatile market, so we try to stay on top of it. So if you have a specific agency that you are referencing that you would like me to speak to, I'm happy to do that. But on the whole, our midpoint mirrors the average of the market. Our entry is very competitive, even with those narrow few who we believe were most likely to lose people to or attract people from.
So, for instance, Queen Creek, what's their starting pay?
So based upon the data from our last review, their starting point is $67,829. And we are proposing our starting is approximately 65. Sheriff, may I get that? 65,899. We're proposing our starting is 65,699. And the sheriff would like to add, if I may.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, also, while we might be just slightly behind a couple of Mesa, Queen Creek, when we take into consideration also the take-home vehicle, it creates a very enticing package. So we're competitive. I would love to be more than them, but also we also have a few other things that give us an extra little bump that might get us pretty on par with where some of those agencies are right now.
I would like to add one more thing to that. I know that our employee benefit packages is amazing compared to even the municipalities, especially when it comes to our insurances.
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, and Sheriff, thank you so much for speaking to those issues. That also makes this conversation challenging because when we focus on just one element, it tells one story. When we look at our total compensation package, the culture, the support, it tells another. I can say to you with certainty that our efforts and with the support of this board, we believe that this presents a highly competitive package that values our respected law enforcement.
Is there any other questions? Supervisor McClure?
No, I have no question.
Okay. Supervisor Miller, do you want to weigh in on this?
Oh, other than just thank the staff for taking the time to drill down into this. I think you've done a really good job. And as you pointed out, Mr. Chairman, the benefit packages lots of times get overlooked. And I think when you combine that with the new salary structure, it does make us very competitive.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor. So, okay, so is there any other questions or anything? Oh, we have one more.
And Chairman Goodman, and before I turn it back over to the sheriff, when the board considers this item, I would respectfully request we make an amendment to the item and include an effective date. So it's assuming approval that this new step plan for our law enforcement be effective August 18th, 2024. That allows our staff to prepare and make the necessary changes for a full implementation. Thank you.
So you're asking for time to implement it?
Exactly,
if
sir.
it's voted positively?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I was just going to ask, can we move it up? But no, of course, everybody else would like to hear that. Okay.
And
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, Supervisor,
Yes.
one more thing, and part of the reason moving it up is October and April are our step times, and so we just want to make sure it's in place before the next step so that everybody's in place. And then just last, thank you all for being so pro first responders, pro law enforcement. We appreciate every one of you, and I know the men and women appreciate you as well. So thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, since there's no further discussion, maybe we can get a motion moving forward.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 14
Okay,
as presented with the effective date of August 18, 2024.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we're good to go. Now go get me those other 20 officers, would you? Item number 15. This is a discussion, approval, disapproval of the fiscal year 2024-2025 Pinal County Employee Compensation Plan across the board salary adjustments and discretionary performance. We have Claudia.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chairman Goodman and members of the Board of Supervisors. For the record, Claudia Lujan, Human Resources Director. The fiscal year 24-25 Pinal County Employee Compensation Plan is before you for discussion, approval, or disapproval. The compensation plan provides 5% across the board salary adjustment or a 5% one-time lump sum for eligible employees. This plan continues the discretionary pay categories currently in place, and it also adds a new category of premium pay for our workforce. It's a temporary pay for duties performed beyond the scope of the employee's job classification or for duties performed in special circumstances or conditions that may arise. The FY 24-25 compensation plan is key in our ability to attract, hire, and retain employees for the county workforce. And with this, I respectfully request your approval of this item.
Thank you, Claudia. Is there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm looking at the document here, and it says an example of premium pay is election day poll worker pay. But could you just briefly describe more broadly some of the other instances?
Yes, thank you for the question, Chairman Goodman, members of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Kavanaugh. One of the items that we were considering is, and I would ask Mr. Ortiz, I forget the exact name of the program, but where they're doing, for instance, the recycling of the paving and expediting that initiative throughout the county. That might be one of the examples of where we would implement premium pay.
And have you identified, for instance, poll workers, what the pay would be, or how that would be calculated?
No, I believe that would be the next step. Once it gets approved, then we would be looking at how we would implement the program and writing that policy.
So my concern is, you know, the government is supposed to be run by the citizens. And I totally get premium pay for extra hours operating that difficult machine and other areas of the county. But when we are paying people a premium who are employees of the county to run our elections, it's sort of we're giving premium pay and for our employees who would otherwise pay their mortgage with their regular salary, and they have a heavy responsibility inside elections and may not be willing to call out an issue because their mortgage may depend on their primary role. So I've argued against having employees in elections, and now we're going to pay them extra to be inside elections, and I honestly have a problem with that. Otherwise, I like the program. That is the one area that concerns me.
I thank you for that. Again, it is an option for the organization to use it beyond that. That was an example, and it may or may not be used in that regard, but I appreciate your insight on that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Now, I have one. I have a comment, and I appreciate the effort and the things that you're doing. You know, for the longest time, I believe, you know, I know there's some doubts and things that one of our board members absolutely represents, but I'm 100% behind this for myself, and so I will be voting in the positive on it myself. So this is there any other questions or anything? Supervisor Miller, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. So item number 15, do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 15 as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Item number 16. This is a public hearing and a discussion approval, disapproval in accordance with ARS 42-17104 and ARS 42-17107. This is in truth and taxation hearing. Angela.
Hello again, Chairman Goodman, members of the board. Angie Woods, Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. And before you, I have a truth and taxation public hearing and final adoption of our budget for fiscal year 24-25. And I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet.
I overestimated how many people would be here. There's 4 people that aren't employees, and 3 of them are candidates.
I appreciate that, Supervisor Surdy, and I appreciate the audience that we have with us today. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. On the screen, I have the Pinal County fiscal year 24-25 total budget of $1,115,788,702. This is the same dollar amount that we presented in our tentative budget. Attached to the agenda item, we have the prescribed schedules from our Auditor General's office. Those are the schedules that you are actually adopting for our budget. They outline the budget limits or budget amounts for each of our departments and divisions. additional item for this is a truth in taxation hearing in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes 42-17107. And the reason we have this truth in taxation hearing is because Pinal County is lowering our tax rate, again, by 11 cents this year. However, our levy is still increasing due to the valuation increase of existing properties. The levy increases by $2,928,051, or 2.43%, which is actually below our inflationary rate for this year. As I explained in our hearing, or before our public hearing for the flood control district, a net assessed valuation of a home of $100,000 in this case, in our primary property tax, with the rate of $3.45 would be $345. If we were adopting the truth in taxation rate, that tax would be $336.83. The difference there is $8.17 per year. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Okay, seeing that there's none. Supervisor Miller, did you have any questions?
No questions.
All right. Now you get a motion moving forward then. Oh, wait. We've got a public hearing.
Yeah, thank you.
So is there anybody in the public that was here to speak in regards to this? Yes, sir. Come up to the mic and then state your name and approximate where you live.
My name is Roger Johnson, and I live at 64612 East Conroe Court, Saddlebrook, Arizona. So I kind of happened upon this public hearing, and was a little bit interested, and so I wanted to come in and find out more about it. I did look up the Arizona Revised Statute, and I'm a little bit curious. So the statute calls for a public notice to be published. And just out of curiosity, it calls for a newspaper of general countywide distribution. And I understand that it was published in Casa Grande. Is that correct?
Is that right? Oh, Angie. Yes, we'll ask you.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. And it also provides for a mailing that goes out countywide. Is that also correct?
Let me clarify. The statute requires one or the other. Our choice has always been to deliver that through a publication in the newspaper. The other choice is we would do a mail to every citizen or every property tax owner, which would be very costly for the county.
Okay.
Okay. And so my point is that just happening upon this, most people that I've talked to in my general vicinity where I live were not even aware of this hearing. They weren't aware of the implications. And so I feel like it's not really proper or representative of the county as a whole to do a newspaper publication in a very limited part of the county. And me in particular, I understand this to be new construction. Is that correct? It's not across the board?
Angie, would you please?
The truth and taxation hearing is based upon existing properties, not including new construction. So it's if we had your home and the net assessed valuation was on the tax roll last year and the increase to that those homes are subject to this truth and taxation hearing.
So that's not the way I really understood it. The way I understood it in the summary that was given, that it only applied to new construction, that it wasn't existing properties. So it is across the board with all properties. Is that correct?
The truth in taxation hearing is kicked off specifically because the increase to existing property valuations is over 2%. So I don't know how else to, in that calculation, we are taking out any new property valuation that comes onto the roll because they've never been taxed in the past. Therefore, they're not subject to this hearing.
So I guess bottom line is that I don't really feel like the residents of Pinal County are fully aware of the implications of the hearing. And that's why I wanted to come myself, and I wanted to try to understand it a little bit better. And I still don't feel like I completely understand it. And I know that other people that I've spoken with, and of course they're not here with me, unfortunately, so I'm just speaking for myself. I feel like we need more information given to the residents before adopting this.
Okay. Thank you. And unfortunately, this is something. Yes, Supervisor Miller.
Just for clarification, and maybe Angie or somebody there can clarify this. It's the Casa Grande Dispatch is where that ad was run, and that newspaper is distributed in a lot more than just the city of Casa Grande. If I understand, it covers, and I don't know all the communities that it covers, but it is other than outside of Casa Grande.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, that is correct. And just to clarify for the public, the statute requires the county to publish this public hearing notice in the paper of record in the county. That paper of record is determined annually through a solicitation process. And this current year, the paper of record is the Casa Grande Dispatch. Future years and prior years, we have had other publications, but it is chosen annually.
The question I have is if we were to adopt, say, for instance, the one tax, then there's really no need for a public hearing. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. If we were to adopt a levy below the truth in taxation levy, then we would not have this hearing whatsoever.
Okay. And so our 3.45 is how much higher again? You were mentioning it's like $8.
Well, it
equates out to about $8 a hundred.
Yeah, it's really like 8.170 cents above the truth in taxation.
Okay, and so for the sake of this gentleman, we are actually dropping what we had last year and decreasing the percentage, correct?
We are decreasing the rate, sir.
Okay. And with what your explanation of it, the increase in property value, regardless if we went the flat tax or whatever we call it, the levy tax, it still would, because of the increase in value that we all are getting on our homes, that's going to increase the property tax.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak in regards to this? Okay. I would like to have us look at the possibility of mailing it out next year. Okay?
Certainly.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe we give that two options and look and see which is going to be the most appropriate. All right. Is there any other questions or anything? All right, with that being said, if I can get a motion moving forward.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 16 as presented.
Before we do that, did I close the public hearing? I'm about to close it. I closed the public hearing. Now, let's do it
now
again.
Now we'll go back to this. Okay, Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 16 as presented.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, and this is requiring a roll call, so.
Yes, Chairman. Supervisor Miller?
Aye.
Supervisor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Supervisor Surdy?
Aye.
Vice Chairman McClure?
Aye.
Chairman Goodman?
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Now we're on to item number 17. I spoke to this last week, or last board meeting, and it was regards to the new bridge that's been built here in Florence. And this is a formal request that I'm making of the Board of Supervisors to join with me in a letter that will be forwarded to the Arizona State Board of Geographic and Historic Names regarding renaming the bridge to the Rusty Greer Memorial Bridge. Is there any discussions in regards to that? All right, can I get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item 17 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. It's unanimous. Thank you, brethren. Okay, item number 18, discussion of board members' requests for future agenda items and or reports to be presented at an upcoming meeting. So do we have anybody that has Supervisor Surdy, McClure, Supervisor Miller? Do you have anything?
Nothing today.
Okay, Supervisor McClure. Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's one of those moments.
I read in a publication that the LG battery plant is reconsidering opening here, and I would like a report on that from the county manager, and then and how that may impact Pinal County and what we've done so far. The second item is a discussion about fire. We should have a discussion about fire districts and whether the county should play a role in fire districts or fire service. One gentleman at the call to the public today mentioned his insurance rates increasing, and I think that's because there's no fire service. And finally, I would ask that we allow questions during the elections updates.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. With that being said, we're adjourned.